After a string of blowouts 2 weeks ago, things tightened up considerably last weekend in CAF action. Some great games. All the highlights coming up in just a moment. CAF TV back for another week. Hey folks, I'm Alex Bastiansky. Epic FC have been the stars of CAF over the past 2 seasons. Last year, the under-14 squad not only won the Super Group, but marched all the way to the national title. Coach Manny Corona will join me here in the studio along with Shafiq Wilson to discuss what makes Epic one of the top programs not only in Canada, but on the continent. That's coming up later on. But first, CAF Super Group highlights. And 2 weeks ago, Bree Academy got smoked. There's no other way to put it. The under-14s ran up against powerful ADP and lost by 12 goals. Well, they had a week to rest up, refocus, and they were like a whole new squad taking on Toronto International on Saturday. CAF Super Group highlights now, brought to you by Leica Sports. Leica, your passion, our commitment. At 12-0 was the score last weekend when Bree played ADP. Early on, it looked like it might be the same old story. Just the second minute of play, Kai Garvey for Toronto, showing off the supreme skill set, takes on 2 Bree players, beats them both, plus the goalie. 1-0 for T.O. International. 13th minute, it's Garvey again, playing a little give and go this time, and making it look way too easy. 2-0 Toronto. Bree on its way to another big loss, right? Well, hold on for a second. It's like they flicked the switch. They nearly get one back here, but Selena Kumar gets off the line. Big save. Moments later, though, Daniel Maselli gets his revenge and stroking in here, and Bree cut the lead in half to 2-1. Bree then swarming late in the first half as it's Michael Andafuora with the sweet moves here to Cameron Warren out front, but Prince Ndukwe with the goal line stand right there for Toronto to keep their lead alive. Second half of play, though, was all Bree, baby. 49th minute, off the corner kick, scramble in the box here. Bree knocks it home, and suddenly we're all knotted up at 2 apiece. Shortly afterwards, Toronto gets sloppy here in the box. Malcolm Walters pounces on it, and Bree are up 3-2 now. What a comeback. 67th minute, long free kick. Everyone ignores Daniel Maselli, who manages to slide behind here, and he makes them pay. Bree Academy like a whole different team from last week as they double up Toronto International. So what happened after dropping a 12-0 decision the week previous? Justin Bogue explains the incredible Bree about face on this day.
Well, basically, we didn't want to go down 12-0 again. And for last game, so most of us came back from a flight, and some of us are jet lagged, so we didn't want to carry that bad momentum into the next game. So we cleared that out of our mind and went on with this game. Went on to this game with a fresh new look. And me personally, I don't think this was one of our best games, but if we played a little better, I think the scoreline could have been more.
Yeah, great bounce back game for Bree. Well, earlier that day, under 14 Epic squared off with Brampton Elite. Now, Epic, as mentioned, have been lights out in Super Group action. They were a perfect 3-0 heading into this match, but Elite, they gave them all they could handle. Epic, as mentioned, were undefeated. Elite played them tight through the first half up until this. Mark Anthony Colalancia playing setup man. Labzan Bedrodin lowering the boom. Absolutely perfect placement. Epic up 1-0. Like I said, first half was tight. Second half, Epic turned it on. But first, it was Elite with a golden chance to knock things up. Dylan Candelaria in tight. Missed though, and yeah, that does sting because Epic nearly responds soon after. Pedro Aparicio, free kick denied by the crossbar though. 64th minute, Epic nearly pads its lead again, but Alberto Sosa comes up with the massive stop right there. Now, Sosa has been battling injuries for the last 3 weeks. Aggravates it a bit on that play. Stays in the game, though, and 2 minutes later makes an even better stop on Michael Adafuora. Save of the week, Alberto. Unfortunately, the dam had to break at some point. Andrew Betancourt with an unstoppable shot there. Gorgeous. Epic up by a deuce through 64 minutes. And then Costa just can't squeeze the shot here. It pops to wonderkin Matthew Plath. 3-0 for Epic, and then literally just before the final whistle, Epic, it gets Brampton scrambling. Francis Kwashi to Jahari Lawrence. picture perfect just under the bar. Brampton goes down fighting, but the boys in orange are just a bit too much. Francis Quashi tells us how a change in strategy helped Epic open things up in the second half.
In the first half, after we scored a goal, we tried to drop back and calm the game down a bit, keep possession. In the second half, after about halfway through the second half, we decided to press up a bit more, try to get more goals to close the game down.
Welcome back. On to the under-16 group we move now. Mississauga United has flexed some considerable offensive muscle so far this year. Through 2 games, the CAF newcomers had racked up 7 goals, including a 5-0 spanking of Pace 3 weeks ago. On Saturday, Chantilly were bent on handing United their first loss of the young season. As Chantilly themselves were also undefeated heading into this one, so it was a titanic tilt. United presses early and come oh so close here. Just check it out. Right into the waiting hands of Carson Provenzaro. Nice stop there. Moments later, Ija Haley kicking himself over this one for obvious reasons. Ouch. That was a tough miss. Second half, Chantilly end up drawing first blood off the corner kick here. The ball pops right to Abud Emani, who tucks it home from in close, and it's 1-0 Chantilly forever. Mississauga got one back right after that to tie it, and then some nice ball movement by United. Fantastic strike here by number 9. Not listed on the game sheet, unfortunately, but great goal, Mr. Number 9, to give Saga the 2-1 lead. They nearly make it 3-1. Ija Haley lays it off. It gets crossed into Sean Costa, but the header flies just over top of the crossbar. Wouldn't matter, though. Mississauga continues its hot streak, dropping Chantilly by a 2-1 count and handing the boys in red their first loss of the young CAF season so far. Future Academy made a statement 2 weeks ago in their Super Group debut, dropping Brampton Elite by a 2-0 count. Things got considerably more difficult, though, last week as they faced off against undefeated Epic. What followed was one of the best games any CAF group has produced this season to date. Yeah, this was the matchup of the weekend. 2 under-16 powerhouses going head-to-head, and Epic draw first blood. Moises Corona, always dangerous and pretty much unstoppable when he's on the break like this, smokes it home, and Epic go up by a 1-0 count. Ronaldo Marshall nearly makes it too soon after. Look at the speed as he just turns on the jets here. But fantastic stop by keeper Anthony Guerreri. Nothing he could do about this one, though. Michael Washington waiting out front, and he's there to tap it home. No help for the keeper there. Epic looking good, up 2-0. But future came to play. Epic keeper Shafiq Wilson just can't quite handle the shot there, and Robert Kruger dines out on the big, fat, juicy, delicious rebound. Future cuts the lead in half to 2-1. Hold on to your hats. Second half was a doozy. Future pressing. The Epic keeper makes a nice stop here, but Lucas Ferreira, boom goes to dynamite. What a one-timer. One of the goals of the week for sure, all knotted up at 2 apiece. But as they always seem to do, Epic pulls it out in the end. Tristan Quattropani draws all the attention, leaving Michael Washington unattended. Never a good idea. It's in, and Epic snags the 3 points in the end. 3-2 your final. These two squads have a rematch set for July 17. Circle it on your calendars. Set a reminder in your smartphone. Put it in your Rolodex. Do I sound old when I say the last one? By any means necessary, see that game. One more game to tell you about. June 18th, Dragon Force blanking Brampton Elite by a 3-0 count. And joining me now in the studio are 2 guys from that under-16 Epic squad who we just were taking a look at there. Shafiq Wilson, goaltender extraordinaire to my immediate left, and head coach Manny Corona. Guys, welcome to the studio. It was tight. It was a tight game there, wasn't it? You guys got the early lead, but they came on strong, didn't they?
Yeah, for sure. We knew that Future was going to be a team that was going to compete, every minute of the match. They have a very, very good standard. We got out to an early lead, but they almost responded right away and definitely kept it close. The game went right to the wire, and it was a great match to see, definitely.
Yeah, and you said to me before we came on that you actually have a little bit of familiarity with Future. You know these guys?
Oh yeah, I used to play with them a few years back at Kleinberg,
Right.
and I know most of them.
Yeah, you got tested a bit in the first half there?
Oh yeah, I did.
Yeah, which didn't always happen last year, and we'll get to that in a few moments actually. But they were coming at you pretty strong there, weren't they, for a bit?
100%, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Are you liking it a bit more being in the under 16 group? We should mention, by the way, that these guys are the under 14 national champions last year. They're actually playing up an age group this year with the U16, so they should be playing U15. Are you guys finding it a bit more challenging than playing up an age group, obviously, size, strength, all that stuff?
Yeah, I would totally agree. Playing up here, I definitely get a few more touches on the ball than I would have last year because as you would have watched, we have a very strong back line, and I was kind of bored a little bit last year, I would say.
Wasn't getting many chances to even handle the ball last year. I think we got you making one save from last year.
If you're lucky.
Yeah, if we're lucky. So thanks to the Epic parents for giving us some great video from the Ontario Cup final, also as well as the Nationals, which we're going to be showing in a little bit. Anyway, we're going to take a break in just a second. When we come back, we're going to talk about how the season's been going so far, and also the amazing run, as mentioned, that Epic had last year as they marched all the way to the Canadian Championship. Welcome back to CAF TV, joined in the studio by two members of the Epic Under 16 squad. And as mentioned, last year they were actually the Under 14 national Canadian champions. This year they're playing up an age group against the Under 16, still undefeated in group play. But let's touch on last year. I had the pleasure of following you guys all year. You guys dominated the Under 14 group. But you made nationals. I mean, talk about the experience. Let's start with you first, Manny.
Yeah, for sure.
And what that was like for these kids to be able to go through that.
Well, that was something that I think we were working on for, probably 2 to 3 years. We had identified that as a group. Some of, the players here now are entering over their 5th year, working together. And, we said that this is the event that, this is the fork in the road as soccer players that we want to see you guys at that age group. So it was fantastic, first and foremost to achieve that goal. It was a long time coming, and the margin for error, all the way was very, very slim. And for us, it was a marathon, definitely not a race. We knew there was a couple of times in that where we would have to tempt fate, you could say, or say ride destiny. And Shaf was a huge part in those situations.
Absolutely.
A couple of times we went through some penalty shootouts, and along the way, once in the Ontario Cup, second one in the national.
So Ontario Cup final was penalty kicks, right?
Yeah,
and was
most
it the
definitely.
semifinal and the final in the nationals, or just the semis?
Just the
semifinals.
semifinals.
Penalties, where this man stopped 3 penalty kicks.
Three
in
penalties.
The game.
Yeah, most
that's ice
definitely.
cold, man. That's my dad was a national team goalie. He'd be very impressed by that. Let me tell you that.
Thank you.
Last year, you go into the season. Was this something you guys expected from the start? I know you were working towards this for years, but Shafiq, did you guys expect this from the start of the year? Was it not just we want to make Ontario, but we want to be the national champions? Was this a goal of the team?
Oh, for sure. Since the beginning, 100% we've put out our full effort, and it's always been one of our goals to kind of make a name for ourselves and brand ourselves throughout not just Canada, but throughout internationally, I would say. Yeah.
And you definitely did that last year. Maybe caught some people by surprise who didn't know about Epic, and they paid the price for that. Definitely. So many standouts on this team. I mean, we could spend at least an hour talking about it. We've only got about 3.5 minutes left. But who are we going to touch on? Let's do the obvious one first. The most obvious would be Ronaldo Marshall. He of the 6'2" plus afro on top of that. He looks like a grown man. Absolutely incredible player. He's been chosen to the provincial team, I believe, in the national program as well.
Yeah.
Talk about what Ronaldo brings.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's continued to progress well. The CAF has been a great catalyst of that. As his, really kept his knife sharp. In terms of his finishing and things of that nature. And he's a great worker, nose down. Keeps his toes down as well. And some good things will definitely be coming in his direction. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and your son, Moises, who's also shot up a few inches in the last little bit of your team. How do you like having Moises in front of you?
You know, it's just a great boost of confidence to see him standing in front of you and knowing, like, to the best of his ability, he's not going to let anything by you. And just having him in front of you just is kind of just like a shield. It's just great.
Yeah, so much. I mean, if we touch on some of these guys, Sal Mazzaferro, who I interviewed about 5 different times last year after the games, who walks up to me for an interview this year, 6 inches taller over the span of 6 months. He grew, I swear he grew an inch every month or something. It's amazing seeing these guys, how much you all grow in the off season now. There is no off season, but it's incredible. Michael Washington,
Yes.
Another great guy. Carson Larrabee, who's actually, is he injured right now?
Yeah. Unfortunately, he's taken a long-term injury, and you know, we hope his best wishes and a speedy recovery for him. You know, it's been a massive blow to our group, and you know, it's been good to see, you know, the boys adapt. It's something new for us as well to have to deal with, you know, injuries. We're such a tight-knit group, you know, and for us, you know, definitely is a quality you can't replace, you know, and we definitely wish him for a good recovery.
We should touch on the under-14s who are also having a great year.
Oh, yeah.
And just real quick, a couple of players that, I mean, you love that team and stuff. Those are your kids. But
for sure.
One of the guys that you've really liked from that team is it Matthew Plath?
Yeah,
we got to see this weekend, who's playing up 2 age groups. Talk about Matthew.
Oh yeah, he's a kid that definitely is a full package player. You know, he not only has the talent and you know, the ambition. You know, he has a great inner drive and a great rage to master. You know, and through injuries and through the course of a long season, you know, we've had to send a lot of players up, and not only from our 2002s playing 2001s, but now reaching to a 2004 player, you know, who we felt for a long time could be successful at the level, and it's good to see.
Right. Andrew Betancourt is not exactly lacking in confidence either, is he?
Most
I call him the Tiny Terror. He's scoring some big goals, and he likes to be interviewed as well. He's not lacking in confidence.
For sure. He's a great player. You know, I think if you look at how we run our program, we're not afraid to, you know, throw players into you know, positional situations, as per se. If a Moises who's in the same position as an Andrew or a Julian Scatcho who's out injured, you know, we would throw those younger guys in. And I think Andrew is definitely a guy that, you know, has huge heart, huge potential, huge talent base.
We could talk all day, guys.
All
This is
day.
what we could go for now. We are out of time. Thanks so much. We're looking forward to following you throughout the years, guys. Thanks for being
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome back to CAF TV. On to the men's open group we head now. This season thus far has been unkind, to say the least, to the Toronto Atomic Selects. Winless heading into last weekend, they dropped all 3 of their contests by a single goal, games that really could have gone either way. So Toronto was desperate to pick up at least a point as they kicked off against Supernova last Sunday. Supernova have been lights out so far this season. They'd yet to lose a game heading into this one, and things look good early. Julian Millens gets dropped in the box. No call, no matter. Miguel Gaetan polishes it off. 1-0 Nova. Atomic hits right back, though. Steven Cherkis. Some nice little moves there to make it a 1-1 game. Later on in the half, though, the Atomic defense taking a bit of a coffee break here. Millens, time and space, too much of both. He puts it in, and Nova back on top, up 2-1. And then Sonan Eskinder does well to get it out front here. He ends up following it up and slotting it home himself. Supernova go up by a 3-1 count. Still in the first half, Eskinder, there's some mustard on this shot. Nicely done, top corner. And second half, the Eskinder show continues. Off for a nice little stroll here with nary a defender around him. Nova, complete control, up 5-1. Atomic do get one back. It's a nice one. Dario Prezak showing off some nice moves in the box. 5-2 Nova. That's as close as it would get. 5-2 your final. Atomic continues to struggle yet to garner a single point through 4 games, while Nova now sit in the penthouse of the open group in a 2-way tie with Toronto, Croatia. Well, Brampton City was rolling right along heading into last weekend. Undefeated through 3 games, City sat on top of the open group standings, but that win streak came to a screeching halt on Saturday against Epic. Yeah, that young Epic squad are learning very quickly the ins and outs of the open group. Early in the game, though, they get burned by City. Jonathan Singh, too much time, too much space, and nice shot to beat the sprawling keeper. 1-0 Brampton. Epic hits right back, though. This is all Kumrani Abbey on this play. Feeds Aichudin for the tap and out front. Nicely done, and it's tied up at 1. Moments later, though, this is all Dean doing all the hard work here, slicing through Brampton. He ends up putting it home. Scores and 2-1. And Abby joins in for a little groove thing celebration. 2-1 Epic, your final. Big one win over an established team like Brampton City. Afterwards, Epic coach Chris Hogg was overall pleased with what he saw from his guys.
They played an awesome game. Brampton FC, they fought right till the end. Very pleased with the boys. Other than the defensive side, they got to understand that this is a different level and they got to rise up to that challenge as well.
Okay, one more score to tell you about in the open group. Toronto Croatia all over BSC Academy as they blanked them 6-0. Okay, let's take a look at the league table and see where all the teams sit in the different divisions. Under 14 group. Epic on top, but they've played one more game than ADP have so far. 12 points to 9, then London Elite, BRI, and Toronto International, each with 3 points so far. Under 16 group, Epic on top as well there with 9 points thus far, followed by Dragon Force and Mississauga United. Chantilly's got 6. Future has 3 points so far. And to the open group we move. Supernova now on top, tied with Toronto Croatia. Both teams have yet to lose a game. City with 7, tied with Epic. BSC with 3. And Atomic Select, still the last team yet to garner a point so far. And time for the CAF Countdown. Before we go, the top 5 plays from this week. At number 5, Toronto Atomic's Dario Brezak turns Supernova inside out, then lowers the boom. Beautiful shot. Top shelf, number 4. Check out the sequence. Chantilly keeper Carson Provenzano makes the initial stop here. Then the goal line clear off, and then follows it up with another great stop from point blank range against Mississauga. Number 3, Kai Garvey had a huge game for Toronto International. Here he turns Bree inside out and slots it home for the nice goal. Number 2, Future Academy's Luca Ferreira packing some heat on his right foot here. Beautiful one-timer to beat the keeper. Excellent goal. And number 1 on the day, Brampton Elite's Alberto Sosa with one of the stops of the year. Sprawling to deny Epic last Saturday. Take another look. This is as good as it gets. Definitely our CAF play of the week. And that is it for this week. Just remember, though, to keep up on all things with the league. CAFsoccer.com is the website. At CAF_football on Twitter, and Canadian Academy of Football on Facebook, of course. Thanks so much for tuning in, folks. We'll see you next week.